Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another weekly outlook. It is Tuesday the 3rd of Feb. Bit of a shorter week for me because it is NFP. But let's get into it. Let's not waste any time. Alright, we're here on the monthly higher time frame analysis first. If you've been paying attention to my previous videos, we were working within this bullish leg, right, from this low to this high. Now at this point we have come up further and mitigated this bearish imbalance completely and gone into the final order block candle as well, right? So I've got those drawn out. You can see how we formed this sort of doji, right, with a top wick and bottom wick, but that's a nice rejection of this order block and imbalance so far, now having mitigated it properly. So let's discuss the two scenarios, right? We have weak highs above here with this red flag at 23496. That could be our ultimate target before any pullback. However, we have also rejected this at this time, so we may also get that bearish pullback towards this discount zone here, where we have some bullish PDAs waiting for us, right? We have this sort of trend line liquidity building up here as well. But discussing both scenarios, you can see I've written here, we've got a nice PDA rejection on a monthly, though the weak high formation could mean further bullish price, right? Price is still bullish. We would need weekly bearish order flow, in my opinion, before presuming there's any sort of pullback here on the monthly. So both scenarios are open, but at the moment, I would see us going higher until further notice, right? So we have our bullish leg, we have our bearish PDA, possible upside draw on liquidity here, and then our possible downside draw on liquidity here. Okay, so in the monthly there's nothing concrete at the moment, but that is the scenario. Price can go both ways. Okay, so let's go down to the weekly. Let's see what the weekly looks like for us in terms of this picture. So as you should know, the weekly did break out, right? We respected this order block, had a very massive bullish week engulfing, and then another bullish week following from that. However, of course, we took out the buy side liquidity target here, our previous structural high, right, from this low to this high. We've now created a new dealing range low and a new dealing range high, which is why I've put those circles there. But what you can see from last week's weekly candle is a very obvious, I've highlighted it in yellow, but it's a very obvious example of a high test candle, which usually indicates a pullback. If I zoom out slightly, you can see we've mitigated this weekly imbalance and rejected it very well. Okay, so far, right, yesterday we had a bearish move, right? So you can see that yesterday formed this bearish weekly candle so far. What do we have here? We have this imbalance, right? I've marked out where the 50% mark of this imbalance is, as that's a common draw on liquidity, a common area for us to mitigate before continuing order flow. Below that, we also have a BPR here. So order block, imbalance, and BPR. So we don't know how far down price will go, but I'm expecting price to possibly come down further. As it's Tuesday today, maybe creating a Tuesday, Wednesday low of the week. Whether that's all the way down at this BPR or not, we don't know. And then I'm expecting that bullish order flow to continue, right? Taking out our potential target up here. So as I said on the monthly, for the weekly to indicate that bearish pullback on the monthly, I'm expecting price to come in, take out this low here, okay, before pulling back, and then expecting further order flow down to those monthly zones. Okay, so that's the sort of thing I would need. The weekly at the current moment is bullish. We have a bullish dealing range, this low to this high, right? We could pull back further into our bullish POIs and PDAs here, and then I'm expecting bullish behavior to continue. This is what I've written here: weekly bullish structure and order flow present, pull back to bullish PDAs likely after the buy side liquidity and bearish PDA. This weekly imbalance has been mitigated. From there, the bias will be for the order flow to continue. So I'm expecting that to continue, but possibly further short-term bearish price action. We'll see. The daily will indicate that or not as well. So I think everything's very clear and obvious here on the weekly. So let's go to the daily. Let's see what that looks like for us for some day trading. All right, here we are on the daily. I hope these drawings aren't confusing you, so I'm going to go through and explain everything that is here. Right, so we have that clear bullish dealing range, right, same as the weekly, from this low to this high. Price has pulled back now into a discount, so this blue box here you can see displaying the discount of this dealing range, okay, from this low to this high. So we are within the dealing range now. Now what is this CE? That is 50% of this imbalance here on the daily. So this is a daily bullish imbalance here, right, which is obviously overlapping with this weekly imbalance here, right? So on the weekly, as I mentioned, we may go down further to go down to the CE here, the 50% mark of the weekly imbalance, but we have already mitigated 50% of this final daily imbalance here, right? So we have an order block here on the daily around that BPR and this CE zone here, this 50% for the weekly. However, the daily may react bullish from here. We may just see that bullish order flow continue from that shallow retest of this weekly imbalance here, right? Because we have so mitigated this 50% mark of the daily imbalance, right? We could continue lower and fill this entire imbalance, possibly come into this order block here, right, before rejecting and continuing this bullish dealing range, this bullish order flow. So what I have drawn out here, what I'm expecting may possibly happen. Price may pull down, take out this previous daily low, of course, create a Tuesday low of the week, maybe even Wednesday, right? Mitigate 50% of the weekly imbalance at this line here. And then we may see that bullish order flow come into the market. Now this is simple order flow drawing here. It may not work that way, but what I'm looking at is we have this bearish imbalance here. Price may have a bullish reaction, have a bearish reaction to this, pull back maybe to some sort of PDA we've left behind, and then continue, right? So that's what I'm seeing here on the daily with our potential market maker buy model target here. And if you haven't watched my previous videos where I explain what a market maker model is, then please go back and look at those. But that's what I would expect. We've got our sell side curve being created here, and then our buy side curve will be created on this side once we bottom out somewhere, right? This would look more like this on the 4 hour most likely. So we're having a bullish reaction this morning so far. We'll see what the lower time frame has to see how far this will go. Again, I'm expecting us to possibly come for this previous daily low, this sell side liquidity into this 50% mark here, right, to then sponsor that move higher. Still respect this CE line as we have yesterday, and we'll see what happens from that point. So what have I written here? The daily and weekly are both aligned. Why? Because they are both bullish dealing ranges, bullish order flow so far. Right, the structure is bullish. We've now pulled back to a discount, mitigating our bullish PDA to 50%, which is this CE here. Bullish momentum from here yet to be confirmed, awaiting the lower time frame. All right, so that's where we're going next. Okay, I hope everything was clear. Any questions, just let me know in the comments. Let's go down to the 4 hour, see what that looks like. All right, so clearly here on the 4 hour, the order flow is still bearish, right? So what do I mean by order flow? You can see where this bullish order flow was in place. We was respecting this bullish imbalance here, created a new high, left behind this imbalance and order block, mitigated that, created a nice low test where this yellow candle is. Price continued bullish order flow, pulled back, mitigated this bullish imbalance again, left a nice low test. Then we failed to continue that bullish order flow. Now we started respecting bearish imbalances here, right? And incoming bearish order flow continued. Okay, we missed this imbalance here, so it may come into use later in the week. I believe this may be around where that daily bearish imbalance is, so we'll have to see. So price obviously was very fast moving towards this area here. So this is that CE zone from the daily, 50% of the daily imbalance. Again, we've mitigated that. Just below that, which would be 100% of that daily imbalance, and where that weekly imbalance midline would be, there is also a 4 hour imbalance there. So we could see that 4 hour imbalance get mitigated more going into that weekly PDA area as well, right? So we may see that today. So what's the scenario for that? Well, it looks like we're pulling back towards this bearish imbalance here on the 4 hour, right? So we could see that get mitigated and price continue lower. As I've said, the order flow is still bearish here on the lower time frame, so it may continue that way. This market maker buy model is not in play yet because we haven't switched into bullish order flow from this zone here yet. Okay, so let's go down to the 1 hour as it may be clearer from there. Right, so here we are on the 1 hour. We are bearish order flow this entire time now, since we mitigated obviously that weekly imbalance, and now we've pulled back down to this zone. So as this arrow is showing here, order flow is still bearish, but what I'm expecting may possibly be the scenario here is we've got this 1 hour and 4 hour overlapping imbalance here, this bearish imbalance. We've got an order block there. However, this is a weak high, right? So I'll come back to that later, but we have this imbalance here. Price is pulling back very correctively, so it's leaving an obvious trend line of sell side liquidity here towards this zone. I expect we may mitigate this zone, and then price then moves bearish, coming for this previous daily low here, this 4 hour imbalance here, which is also within that weekly daily bullish imbalance zone here that we're expecting price to maybe go deeper into, right? So take out these Asia highs, so buy side liquidity into an imbalance here, then price is going to possibly go lower, taking out the sell side liquidity to sponsor that move higher, and then we'll be showing bullish order flow once we start breaking some highs and respecting bullish PDAs here on the 1 hour. As you can see, 1 hour is also still very bearish, aligned with the 4 hour. Okay, so I need to see something like this to show bullish order flows coming to the market for me to play out this potential market maker buy model for the rest of the week, right? Or however long that takes. So this is what I want to see. I will look for shorts coming from this zone here, taking profit at the previous daily low, and then I'll get aligned with that market maker buy model if this formation starts to happen. All right, so I hope that's clear. Let's go down to the M15 to see what trading may look like for today. All right, so here we are on the M15. We have our upside drawn liquidity, which is this 4 hour, 1 hour imbalance here, bearish imbalance. I marked out this M15 BPR here just in case price did respect it. I didn't expect it to, because we have this upside drawn liquidity here, right? So I expect us to go into that again, as I said, right? We've got a lovely trend line here, right? Lovely trend line here of all of these lows for us to target, right? If we get to go short, which what I would expect to look like something like this, right? We're going to see price do things like this and then start respecting some sort of bearish imbalance here, or an order block or whatever it may be, and then price to continue breaking down and come for that previous daily low. Okay, so of course we're just going to be looking for entries on the execution time frames anywhere along here where price starts to respect its order flow. If you want to wait for another breakdown and not the initial riskier one, then we can do that as well, targeting Asia range low sell side liquidity, all of these lows, and the previous daily low as well. So this is what I'm looking for to happen today, right? That would be my preference. I'd be taking all my profit at this previous daily low. Now, as I had mentioned on the 1 hour, let's go up there for a moment. We do have this weak high here, as we do on the monthly time frame, what I showed earlier. So we have a weak high here because we have this lower high right next to it. We failed to take that buy side liquidity yesterday before heading lower, and we have a bearish 4 hour imbalance above, right, which may draw price. So this area here is a weakness, right? So we'd need to see the M15 order flow respect this box here, this zone, before we look for any shorts, because price could head higher, take out these highs and go short from here before retesting this zone. So we will see what happens. That would confuse the picture a bit more, because obviously the 1 hour order flow may look bullish and the 4 hour may still look bearish, but we will see when we get there. For today, this is still my plan A for this to be rejected and for me to follow that down to the previous daily low, looking for shorts before possibly the rest of the week looking for longs. Okay, so I hope that was clear. So just back up to the daily to remind you of the bigger picture. We're going to wrap things up now. I hope that was clear. Any questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys soon.